Hello all, it's Sunday Q&A time again. So, right, thanks very much for all the comments during the week, as always. I'm going to do a separate video on the responses to the questions on the CX. I kind of feel it needs like its own standalone type thing, really, to be honest with you, because I think it's something that people might refer back to. Like I say, I have done no affiliation with them. They hopefully will watch the video, and hopefully, if we do the responses as well, they might take on board some of it, and they might change. Everyone's a winner. You know, their system will work better. It will work better for us. That's all I ever really wanted, to be honest with you. Just want it to work, like, you know. So, but in the meantime, we'll focus on what we did do. So firstly, as an intro, Van on the Run says, thanks again, Pete, much appreciated. He answered a question which I've been very vague about, which is kind of when you back a lorry onto a bay, is that other work or is it brake? And I spoke to my transport manager about it, and he said it's a very grey area. Well, Van on the Run says, and by the way, he's got his own channel out there. He's much more this is life on the road, whereas I'm much more, what do I do in this situation? So please check him out, Van on the Run. Type it into Google. If I can, I'll do a link. I'm not sure how many links I'm allowed, but I'll do a little link. But he says, I think this is bang on as well. He says there are generally two options. Owner drivers say it's brake. PAYE agency drivers say if they don't get paid for brakes, it's work. And that's the long and short of it. So if you're actually, I know that some firms out there don't pay for drivers' brakes. But if you're not getting paid for brake and you drive the lorry somewhere and then you're on a bay for 4 hours, you're not going to put that as brake because you're not going to get paid for 4 hours work. From our point of view as shippers, we want our drivers, if possible, to say it's brake because it means that they've got, once they come out of sight, they've cleared all their driving time. They don't have to go, well, I've finished that job. Now I've got to take a break for 3/4 of an hour before I can get my next job, because time is money in this game. If the question is, can you justify it? And I still maintain, if I'm sitting in the passenger seat watching Netflix on my phone, I'm on brake. The other thing you can do is you can actually leave the vehicle. You can actually go, if they've got a driver's lounge, or you can go, right, here are my keys. I'm going to take my flask and I'm going to go and sit on them pallets for like 3/4 of an hour and read a book. So, but how you go about it, it's that grey area. And domain name guy says we might be in recession in a few weeks. He's gone into why, looking on the YouTube and stuff like that. He says, so you might want to ask your accounts to settle within 30 days or, soonish. That's one thing. He also said he's seen the ideal van. He says it's £75,000, Merc Sprinter camper van with bed, cooker, fridge, freezer, shower, toilet in UPS brown. You just need to have a tacho fitted so you could tow a trailer where the 3 pallets would go. Yeah, I've kind of got a van. The ideal van hasn't got all of that, but it has got a fold down bed and it's got plenty of room for pallets. Anyway, on to the videos. Right now, I did one on the phone a little while ago, and that's just basically me trying to justify messing around. I've got the new phone, and then when I did the video with Steve, I messed around with a new phone. Van on a Run says, I really rate Samsung phones, but they come at a premium. If you shop around, there's a lot of good phones available off Amazon. They offer very high specs for a low price. These brands of phones are not available from the phone networks in the UK, but are sold by the millions/billions in China and India. He's got a Doogie S70, which cost 240 quid off eBay a few years ago. It's a rugged phone. It's waterproof, tough and screen, big battery. It works great. My next one will probably be a Doogie with 5G compatibility. And Steve Campbell says, I'm sure there are many cheaper phones out here which switch between cameras. My current phone is a Samsung A21 S, £120, and Motorola does one for 60 quid. It's one of those things. I bought the new phone. It's a bit of a luxury. But the truth of the matter is, I don't spend money on anything. I sit here and boxes come through that door of soap and candles and sort of liquid hand soap. And, I spend my life in these T-shirts. Anyone want to guess today? These T-shirts, jeans and boots and the fleece. And in winter, it's the big coat. That's it. And all I ever really use is my truck, my phone and my boots. So it was a bit of a luxury. I did kind of push the boat out a little bit on it. I do feel a little bit guilty, but it's that utility thing. I use it all day long. Daniel Grumber, a superhero transport manager, he said, I can't see the point of it. He's a bit like Van Lerone. He says, there are loads of phones out there that do the job perfectly well that are a fraction of the cost of why you're messing around. Some people never learn, do they? So, right, I also did one on 3 reasons why the CX actually does triumph over end customers. And I think we're all of the belief end users are the way forward. But it was a conversation I had with my mate Franz, a South African, Van on the Run again. He says, good video, Pete. He says, I think it's good to mention the downsides of having your own customers, as most people think it's all positive. Yeah, I do have a tendency, I know that, it's nothing intentional, I do have a tendency to come across everything shiny. The biggest downside I can see to having my own customers is that I would lose the freedom of my independence. As they call me anytime needing a job doing, I feel obliged to get it covered in order to keep their business. I like being able to log in and work when I like one job at a time. It allows me freedom and independence. Also, if selling jobs on the CX for an end user and the customers don't pay or they pay late, it could cause financial stress. This is true. Not just for end users though, because I've got end users that will ring me and go, I've got a job going out tomorrow. I might be, let's say I've got a job on Wednesday morning. It's Monday. I've rejigged the way I think about things. But I think it's had something to do with this LEZ stuff. And what I do now is, whereas before I would say for example, you got Milton Keynes to Northampton on a Monday, then I would be looking for a job from Northampton going south. It might, if you're lucky, it will go to Dunstable. It might go to Milton Keynes. It might go to Watford. It might go to Basingstoke. But it's kind of south. Then I could get home. I've changed now. I'm getting used to the Travelodge thing. The Travelodge thing's actually all right. 35 quid for a night, it's fine, So now I would take, say, if I got Milton Keynes to Nottingham, then I would look on a Monday, Nottingham going anywhere. But it's got to be the right money. So if it was Nottingham going to Manchester or Leeds or Portsmouth or Torquay, I'd do it for the right money because I know I'm going to stay at a hotel, and I'm prepared to do that all week now. But it's got to be the right money. Soon, I don't think it's going to work all week because sooner or later it will just bring itself back. Obviously, on a Friday I want to get home because I want to spend my weekends at home with the family, and also there's no jobs on the weekend. But yeah, I have kind of, like I say, I've changed the way I've done about that. But then if an end user rings you up and they kind of say, I've got a machine needs shifting on Wednesday morning, you feel obliged to say yes. And they don't always pay that much more money. So it's something I'm going to have to look at. I might have to turn around and say to a few of them, yes, you can book me ahead of time, but maybe because I've got a lot of my end users, I mean, one of them was a guy that I met via the CX, who's not even on the CX anymore, and some of them are just mates. And because you've got to know them, you feel obliged to say yes. So the obligation to say yes, I take that totally on board. He also goes on to say, because I did, that there is this thought of, I do make it look a bit shiny. He said, I don't think you're misleading anyone. He says, you're just a kind of glass half full kind of guy. I am. He said, that said, I've heard you say several times that you've had a poor or shocking day, so it's not all positivity. If I have a bad day, I tell you I have a bad day. I'm lucky. I don't get that many bad days. If I could give a mild criticism, it would be that I've heard you give the advice, hold your nose and jump with regards setting up. I don't feel this is good advice. While there's always a leap of faith for everyone, you should do your research thoroughly possible first, setting up a business plan. Doesn't have to be a fancy document, just some calculations on what you think you're going to do. And this is very good advice. Now, the thing I'll say about the hold your nose and jump thing is I've had lots of... It's that, but if you're asking the questions, what's going on, that's very wise. Business plan, look into it. If you're still asking those questions 6 months later, it's almost like, are you really serious about doing this, or do you just want to keep asking questions about doing it because it makes you feel better? But you're dead right. You did. I mean, there's some degree of looking into it certainly should be done. Well, let's be and trying to be realistic, and that's where you want to look at other people's videos. I mean, look at my videos. Look at Van on the Run. I know Big Beardy does very well. Check out anything. Type in Courier Exchange. Look at everybody. Be sceptical. Do your research. Try and get an idea of area. That kind of thing, you know. Don't just listen to me. Don't listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. As Goodwin's UK says, he says, you seem like a decent bloke, really. Thank you very much. He says, I don't agree with you all the time. He said, I don't agree with you bigging up the CX all the time because of the saturation of drivers as a result. Yeah, I know, I didn't plan to do it that way. It just kind of happened. But the CX are also responsible for simply taking everyone's 16-digit number under the pretense of a dream that maybe isn't there. To counter the negative, I applaud you for being honest about the wrongs you did with the green lorry vans, don't know what it was, and applaud you for doing so well. So I'm getting there. I ain't there, but I'm getting there. Also, to counter the first paragraph, I've seen you mellow a bit with bigging up the CX and possibly. Anyway, like I say, all I do is make videos about what happened to me. And then, you know, kind of, if questions ping up that I can help people with, I do. I think anyone who's been watching the channel for a little while, at first, I think people at first kind of think, oh, what's going on? As I said before, my business partner said, I didn't believe that you weren't anything part of them because, you know. But I think once you've been watching for a little while, you kind of go, But you make your own mind up. Like I said before, do your research. Be sceptical. Don't just watch me. Watch other people. Watch Van on a Run. Watch Big Beardy. They will show you what it's like out there. They will give you an alternative point of view. I just want you guys to be happy. I know it sounds sad, but I just want you all to be happy. Does that sound sad? I don't know. Yeah, so on the 3 reasons. Arpad, hello mate, how you doing? He says, fair point, the CX is, you know, having your own end user customers is good and bad. We have got our own end user customers, they're brilliant because they pay. If you have an end user customer that you've done a load of work for and you're chasing them for money, not a great customer. That's a nonce. But I suppose it's not just a matter of getting your end user customer, it's also a matter of getting the right end user customer. And whatever 9000 says, let's be real, gentlemen, CX is great at the beginning. After a year or so, you should already have had 2 or 3 private customers. It's difficult to get private customers if you're running on the CX because you can't get customers off the CX because that's poaching. So it's stuff that you have to do on the side. But yes, they're dead right. End user customers, the way forward. Right, I'd also do, the question was asked me, if I started again, would I start in a Luton or would I start in a truck? And I thought about this, and I thought what I would have done is I still would have started in a Luton, but I would have jumped into a truck much quicker. I always preferred trucks. I've driven trucks before I was even a courier. When I was on the market, I drove trucks. But I think starting in a Luton helped me. Maybe 3 months, 6 months. Then I would have looked into lorries. And also, if you are going to start, and I'm going to do one, this Ian Merritt threw this one out, Ian with 2 eyes. If you're going to start, keep your overheads low. So, and if you're going to start, if you think, well, I'm going to start a CX, I'm going to buy a truck, you're not keeping your overheads low. But if you start and it works for you and you're happy, then you can escalate it quickly. But I'd always say with anything that you're not sure about, keep your overheads as low as you possibly can. Dave Cossey says, sound advice. Thank you very much. Matt Hodges says, I'm a Class 1 driver now, and to be completely honest, if I ever make the leap to run myself, I'd get a van. And if, very big if, I was successful, I'd start to run trucks. But I wouldn't be driving them themselves. The thing about this, Matt, is I actually like driving trucks. I mean, I know it's not a real truck. I look at the guys in the sort of the Class 1s and thinking, you see, that's a real lorry. I'm just like, you know, like when you've got your dad driving the car and you've got the kids sitting next to him with a plastic steering wheel, I kind of feel a bit like that. Whether I'll ever get Class 1, I don't know. But I am going for my Class 2. As soon as everything springs up, I'm going for my Class 2. But I actually enjoyed, I've got, I kind of like the solitude, just me on my own, get the odd phone call, like, you know. But got my radio, I like my radio, and I've got the open road. I don't like traffic jams. I hate traffic jams, but I don't get too many of those. But if it's a nice day and sometimes it's beautiful countryside, and as opposed to when you're successful, you can move out of the truck and sit in an office. I don't want to sit in an office. I spent a year working in an office. I hated it. I could potentially do a bit of time in the office, maybe a bit of time in the yard. I like driving fork trucks. They're fun. And maybe, you know, just, I don't know where my future lies. I really don't. But I actually like driving a lorry, and I'd kind of miss it. You know, I kind of feel there might be a situation if we can get, we're on 3 lorries at the moment. If we could jump up to 6, maybe I'd be in a situation where maybe I'd have to do a bit of yard work. And if a driver goes sick or on holiday, I could jump in and cover him. I don't know what the future holds, but I will keep you informed. I'll tell you. Yeah, so Steve Campbell, he says he's watching from the cab of a Mercedes R-Cross 2545 unit while waiting on a bay at Asda in Scampsdale. He says, I'm day 3 of the new job tramping. I miss driving a van. I've been waiting here since I think he got about 8 o'clock. Still not on a bay. I don't like the waiting. The waiting is horrible. The only thing, I hate the waiting. It's kind of different if you're getting paid waiting time, but even then it's horrible. The one thing I do have is I've got a computer, and if I know that I'm going to be waiting a long time, and I've done this before, I just take the computer out and start writing because that's my hobby. I'll go, well, I'm going to try and use this time to do something I want to do. But when it's dead time, I hate the dead time myself, So I get that. Maybe Steve, time to jump back in a van again. And I also did one this week on terms and conditions. Sort of whose terms and conditions actually override everybody else's. Steve at SDC Services says, if they call you to do a job, it's your terms. If you bid or call them, it's their terms, I believe. The problem with that is, what if you e-quote and then they book you? Or what if you ring them and say you give you a quote? It's just not, the long and the short of it is, at the end of the day, it's a negotiation. And everybody puts down their terms and conditions. But because every single situation is completely different. I had a job this week, and I was in Derby, and a job pinged up. It's picking up 4 pallets, and it was an hour and a half. It was like Stoke. It was an hour and a half further north, but they had to go back to Watford. And I was running out of time and all that kind of stuff. But I'd done it. I thought I would just about squeeze that one in. Drove all the way up to Stoke, and turned out the pallets had gone that morning. So I rang them up. This is on your cancellation fee. And she said, what's your cancellation fee? I said, in the nicest possible way, I've done the job. I've driven an hour and a half in the wrong direction. I'm now going to have to retrace my steps, going an hour and a half back in my direction and drive all the way down the motorway to Luton. The job was dropping off in Watford. It's like another few junctions. She said, so you want the full money on the job? And I said, I'm ever so sorry. And she said, fine. You can shippers are human beings. Talk to them, negotiate with them, be honest, tell the truth. Some of them might not be quite so forthcoming, but all you can do is be honest and hope for the best, And the lady was very nice, and she gave me the full money on the job, which meant I didn't have to drive to Watford to drop the pallets off. I could maybe have turned around to her and said, look, I'll give you it a little bit cheaper, but she kind of said, look, it's my mistake, I understand. At the end of the day, we're working together here, guys. Let's just try and make it work, Michael Kane. He says, I don't understand where the confusion is coming from. If I book a plumber, electrician, carpenter, or whether I need to pay them the rates, not negotiate. I would love to pay less. It's up to different companies to pick and choose a driver if they want the job. Oh, that it were so simple. But there we go. So that's the questions on the videos covered. I'll try and hammer through this because I want to get it done in one. I don't like splitting it if I don't have to. So, right, we're on to miscellaneous now. Steve Campbell says, I still find Circuit to be the best out there. I've spoken to Circuit. I've given you the preemptive last Sunday. I'm going to be doing some videos. They actually want me to make some videos for them now, for their site. This is just another thing that's come of me doing this. And they also want me to do a blog, which I guess is like this, but written. She says you don't have to write it. You can just, we'll interview and we'll write it down, which is handy because I never learned to write. That's not true, other than the books. And there will be some more videos pinging up on here. I've told you guys that I get a kickback off it, but at the same time, I'm happy to endorse it because I do think it's really, really good. And with that in mind, I want to do a video of someone actually doing it. This is more aimed, not so much at the CX mob. This is more aimed at the mob that are doing like your Amazon Hermes and stuff like that. So if there's anyone out there who watches these videos, who's in the kind of Luton area, and wouldn't mind having me with them for a day, I'll come out here with a day, do a load of video. You will be paid for your time. They just want they want basically someone to show how the app works on the job. And I keep going, I'm really not your guy. I'm not Mr. Multi-Drop. I keep telling you, I'm not Mr. Multi-Drop. I know a little bit about it. I've done it, but I'm not the guy. So if you're out there and you're doing a multi-drop, if you're doing a Parcel Force or the Hermes or the Amazon, and you're in Luton or Dunstable in the area kind of thing, do me a favour, leave your number in the comments, and you're up for me coming with you for a day, and I'll do a video, and you will be paid. You will have to tolerate me for a day. For that, I apologise, but you will be paid for your time. So please, I'm kind of recruiting, I guess is what they call it. I don't know. Further on the circuit thing, Fernando More says, hi Pete, I'm a multi-drop driver for HMP, I don't know what it is, and I use circuit every day. It's a game changer. I've decided to give it a go after watching your videos and I won't change. Thank you, because that at least gives me some kind of feedback in the fact that I've looked at it, I think it's great, but I don't use it. But if other people are using it and saying, yes, it is great, at least that's some kind of backup I've got, like, you know. So, and Seb Hawkins says, worked for Amazon in the first lockdown. Now I've been working for Hermes for the last 6 months. Much prefer Hermes for myself, as I have a nice area around me. It works well for him. He said he had a phone call with me on Tuesday. Yeah, we probably had that chat. It kind of blurs into one. Sorry, I'm getting old Alzheimer's. Looking to be joining the CX soon, as the multi-drop isn't cutting anymore. If you are on a multi-drop, try and check that circuit thing out. I will do a link. But yeah, like I say, I'm not going to go too overboard with it. You'll just get a few more mentions because they are, you know, they're on my side. But at the same time, I would like to do something bigging it up a little bit. So if you're in the Luton area and you're kind of a multi-drop guy and you fancy getting on one of these videos, please leave your number in the comments and maybe I'll give you a bell and maybe we can get something sorted. Right, that's that over there. Domain name guy says, yes, allegedly the City of Bath now charges for vehicles if vehicles have high emissions. Yes, that's a bit random, isn't it, really? In the fact that as far as I can work out in the entire country, there is now a low emission zone in London and Bath. Not London and Manchester and Newcastle and Leeds and Sheffield, London and Bath. It's a bit like the people of Bath have gone, we don't want smelly trucks. Also, I think there's one in Birmingham, but it's cheaper. The London one is 100 quid for a truck. Bath is 100 quid for a truck. Birmingham is 50 quid. What I would say, I mean, be wary if you're in a lorry and you're quoting jobs into Bath, and also when you type it into Waze, because that's how I done it. I had a job coming in, I was going somewhere, and it took me through Bath, and there was this thing that said LEZ in grey on Waze. And I'm like, what's that? So I Googled it, and it's like, no, you do have to pay to drive through, so I went round it. Took me another 15 minutes, mate, paying them 100 quid. So yeah, be wary, guys, there is a low emission zone in Bath. Right, Dolly Dalton says New Generation Couriers Logistics Limited, CX number 151996, have gone into administration. If you've done work for them, you might want to jump on that. Thanks for the heads up, my friend. Andy Angam says it'd be interested in people's views on using the new Vivaro E with the longer range. How restrictive would it be against the cost of charge? I don't understand. So if you guys know anything about the Vivaro E, please leave some comments for Andy, or if not, if you leave them, I'll just bung them out again next Sunday, as I have a tendency to do. Johnny Van Courier says, hello Pete, you're right about small vans. Now, I've done one, small vans. Not everyone does it their way. I like lorries. Some people like Lutons. Daniel was a big fan of Luton curtain size, but he's jumping into trucks now. My transport manager, he's lovely, I don't care. Some people, the Uncle Alberts, just like driving around in a small van. He says, I've done 550 miles yesterday in my Peugeot Partner diesel, and the diesel cost me 50 quid after I reclaimed the VAT. I went from Maidstone to Norfolk and then to Harrogate, arrived at 4:15. He said, but I bid too high on some backloads. 4:15, you're going to be lucky to get a backload. He said, rookie mistake. But he said, I got $220 for the day, £25 in diesel, had to run back empty, so that's another £25. But got back in time to have dinner and a glass or two with a lovely wife. It's all win-win. Not mega money, but as you rightly say, it's a second business and I'm utilising otherwise dead time for a van and myself. Going to try bouncing around London for the next day. See how it gets on, see how it stacks up against the long run. Lights channel. Thanks for the info. Johnny VC. Mate, let me know how the London thing went. Everybody does it their way. Some people, we've done one recently on this one. You do the hop, or you do the triangle, or you do, I call it the bounce, or the corridor, or you do the long distance. Everyone does it their way. Some people tramp. Some people go out at like 10 o'clock in the morning, get home at 2. They're happy. It's a bit of pocket money. And you do you. I tell you what I do, but ultimately there's a million people out there doing it completely differently, very happily. You do you. Steve Campbell. Oh, he said something about the tacos fitted. He says because it's to do with towing. This taco thing in vans is to do with towing. He says, he said he didn't mind, and he also said, so yeah, I think if you're towing a vehicle, you need a taco, something like that. He said, I didn't mind self-tipping because, there's that thing that if you're on site, and we've had that, are you on rest or are you on, if you're on a bay, are you on rest? Well, you're on rest if you sit in the passenger seat watching Netflix. If you're in and out the back of the lorry with the pallet truck, that ain't rest. That's work. So if you're tipping Audis or Lidls and you're in and out the back of the lorry with the pallet truck, don't put it on rest. Put it on hammers, because otherwise when you pull out and the DVSA is sitting there in front of you, they're going to have you for that. Yeah, he said, I used to do self-tipping. He said, the stressful part was going into stores where the loading bays are accessed via the car park. He said, I'm starting at Hawthorns on Class 1 tomorrow night, heading for Costco, Stevenage, my first drop. Good luck, my friend. I hope it goes well. In fact, that might actually relate to something that you said later on, because I put them in order. So I hope you're doing all right. I think he wants to get back in the van. It's your call, mate. It's your call. Fernando Morera says, I heard someone say that you can't use your no claims bonus for a private car to transfer it to commercial van. That's not actually true. And then domain name guy, then Longfinger came in, so I don't really read the things, but I did get this one. He says you can mirror your no claims bonus. He says, no, you can't mirror it. You have to cancel it. I don't know how it works. I would say ring various different courier companies. We use Business Choice Direct. Give them a bell. Say, can I use my car's no claims bonus on the van? If some say yes and some say no, and you've got quite a big no-claims bonus in your car and it give you quite a savings, go with the ones that say yes. I don't know which ones they were. If I did, I would tell you, but I don't. All I can do, once again, as always, is wish you the best of luck. Domain name guy says, allegedly you can do your driver's CPC online. Yes, you can. I did my driver's CCP online last year. I did it with a firm. You can follow the link to the website, or you can go to the end screen. They don't give me no money, but they were very good. There are ones out there that were slightly cheaper. I trust this firm. They do all the ins and outs. You might save 10, 15 quid going with someone else. Like I say, follow the link at the end to the website. If you want to do your driver CPC online, I recommend them. If I get paid, I get paid. I tell you, I don't get paid off this mob. But also, I found a firm that's going to, my mate at the top of the road, I think I found someone who's going to do straps. I said I'll make him a video, and if anything comes of it, I want to drink further on down the line. He just can't see anything in it. But he's a mate. He's more of an acquaintance than a mate. But I think I found someone who does like the 2-ton straps, the 5-ton straps, and all that kind of stuff. So that might be coming. If it helps, great. That's just the way I look at it. Matthew McDonald. That's a hell of a gaff you got there, mate. My missus said there's too much wood, but I love it. I have done a video about the house, explaining it all. I will stick it out sometime. I just don't want to be flash about it. I've tried to be honest as always, but I will do the explanatory video about, how it came about and all that. So, but thank you very much. It's very kind thing to say. I'm a very lucky man to have it. Marcelo Tassella says, hi Pete, do you know if Amazon Relay accepts long wheelbase or Luton vans? Thanks, great videos, man. Greetings from Spain. Hola, gracias. Yes, they do Luton vans. I don't know about long wheelbase. I'm sure they do, but I have been in Amazon several times on the Relay app via other people, which I know they're not supposed to repost the jobs, but they do. And it's quite nice when you're in a Luton, in fairness, because if you're like a 6-axle, they're going to stick you on a bay. You turn up in a Luton, they go up the ramp, and you tend to be in and out an awful lot quicker if you're in a Luton. It's not quite so scary. So when it comes in and it says Amazon, you don't go. Oh. You kind of think, okay, well I can jump in and out there, So, but yes, the short answer is yes, they do. Joseph Wedlock, he says, how much was the fuel on that run? That was when I did the run, when I was doing the flowers back for Ben at HBC. That was fun, first day. Out there with torches trying to work out what was going where. I can't remember, mate. It was 2-3 years ago now. I think I've probably done about 3/4 of a tank, so you're probably looking at about 75 quid. But it was a long time ago. Gareth Williams says, "Hi Pete, thanks for all the videos. I've started on the CX, was wondering on quoting for short jobs like 5 to 20 miles. Do you have a CX minimum charge? Do shippers have a minimum charge? I can't quote £4.50 on a 5 mile job. I have a medium wheelbase, 3 metres. I would put 3 metres at long wheelbase. People disagree. And if you want to err on the side of caution, that's wise. But you can always throw, in my mind, 3 metres is kind of, because different firms of vans give different classifications. As it is, Steve SDC replied in the comments, I agree with him. You're looking at a minimum on a Luton, on a small van about £20-25, probably £25, going up to about 40 on a long wheelbase. But yeah, you don't, if the job says 2 miles and you're charging them £4.50 a mile, you're not going to charge them £9 for the job. That just doesn't make sense. Dean9050 says, hi Pete, hope you're well. A couple of questions. I have a Class 2 licence. Is there much work for 7 to 18 to 12 to 18 tonne lorry work? Also, do you know much about running costs of these weights? I personally think the bigger lorries are better to drive as you're so high up. I agree. I much prefer driving a truck. If there is much work, considering purchasing a DAF 12 to 18 tonne, that's 12 tonnes, have a payload of 6.5 tonne. Cheers, Jeff. Yes, there isn't as much lorry work on the CX as there is van work, but there's an awful lot less people in lorries than there is vans. And I've said this before, we should all be driving 18-tonne trucks. Don't mess around with a 12-tonne, there's no point. They cost the same as 18 tonnes. What you want is an 18-tonne DAF, double curtain side with a tuck under tail lift. That covers 80% of the lorry work, maybe 90% of the lorry work that's on the CX. But, and I keep saying this, and it's not because I'm running trucks now, it's involved. The reason why people jump in vans is you can buy a van and you can go to work the next day. If you want to get a lorry, you're taking about your operator's license. Daniel's gone for his operator's license, and he kind of says, well, the advert's going to be up in 3 weeks' time. So will I get? I went, no, Daniel, mate. It goes on and on and on, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and there's the maintenance. It's worth it. It is certainly worth it. But it's work. So just prepare yourself for the fact it isn't going to be like, I've got a van, I can go to work, I can do a load of deliveries, I can come home, I can switch off. My Saturdays are gone now. My Saturdays, I'm up there now, I'm seeing the mechanic, I'm doing the driver's cards, I'm doing the PODs, I'm doing the overtime, and then I spend the afternoon doing this. This is Saturday, it's now 3:15. I started doing this at 1 o'clock. But that's fine, that's okay. Because I like the sound of my own voice. And I like to help people, and I get some dough. 3 reasons. There you go. But yeah, if you want to go for it, I did this earlier on. We did mention this. What I would recommend is starting a Luton van. If you like it in a Luton van, within 3 months, 6 months, switch to trucks. Get involved. And you can actually make the switch to trucks while you're in the van. You can start applying for your operator's license while you're in the van. And that way, you can buy the truck while you're in the van. If you want, I wouldn't even do that. Actually, you've got to park it somewhere. But when you know it's coming, you can just ping over and you'll get the experience of how to run on the CX in the van, which means when you're running the lorry, it's the same thing. Pretty much, in fact, it's easier. Yeah, they tend to be bigger loading areas, faults on, faults off. It's easier running a truck than as a van, but it's involved. So I would not take the risk. I would try the van first, and if you like it, jump in the lorry. But at the end of the day, as I always say, you do you. And finally, Koshi Katak says, hi Pete, are you still on the CX? How's it going? Yes, I am on the CX. It's kind of the H6 now, and I think that hopefully has answered your question. So finally, today, C11 Yan says, I think all shippers should also dress like Dr. No. Absolutely, with a scar down their face and a Persian cat. £2 a mile, Mr. Bond. And Ian Merrick has explained, he says, Pete, the STEMnet ambassadors are volunteers who promote science and technology in schools. He said, I was once supported an event dedicated to careers in space. I always wanted to be an astronaut. but then I got Gideon a glider, so it's probably not a good idea. Each volunteer was assigned a group of students. When my lot presented back and I asked what happens if we take our helmets off in space, they all said in unison, our brains get sucked out through our ears and nose, sir. Fantastic. Maybe not take your helmet off then. So that's it. That's me done for another week. Like I say, I will do one on the CX questions. Thank you very much for your responses, but we're on 34 minutes now and it drags on. And in the meantime, seems to be getting back to normal again. Seems to be getting a little bit busier out there. So fingers crossed that we can all take care and take money.